you amazing, beautiful people, and welcome back to another kind of solo leveling reaction video. So, as solo leveling continues through Season 2, and we check out those episodes every single week on the main channel, G.O.T Games, all of you have been asking me to make sure that I do not miss the amazing AniNews videos with the cut context from each episode. Now, we've already checked out episode 1. If you haven't checked out that video, I definitely recommend it. And now, we're going to check out episode 2. And I'm actually really excited to check out episode 3 because so many people have told me loads of stuff was cut from that. So I feel like that video is going to be very interesting. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this. I'll try and upload the videos the day after the anime goes out, simply because I feel like a lot of people ask me to react to the videos the day the anime goes out because he uploads them before the anime goes out, so I could put like the episode reaction and this out, but I think it's nicer to like leave it a day or two, and that way I don't take away anything from AniNews' uploads. So yeah, I'll try and upload them every single Sunday going forward, and we're also still going to check out some stuff from Season 1 as well, and any other solo leveling recommendations you guys have got, put them in the comment section down below. Anyway, enough of my talking. I cannot wait to check out this video. Huge shout out AniNews, link to their channels in the description. Please like the video, please subscribe for more, and let's jump into my first time ever reaction to Solo Leveling Season 2, Episodes 2, cut content.
Okay, this was pretty cool. Scenes like this are actually anime original, and I'm 100% here for all of it. Just like how it was with episode 1 though, a lot of the finer details focusing on the people around Sung couldn't make it due to how much they need to cover this season. There was also a bit more to Sung's grind in the Red Gate, so if you want to see just how much he leveled up, along with what you may have missed from his boss fight against Baruka, that's exactly what we're going to talk about this video.
Nice, let's do it then.
It's all the differences between the anime, the manhwa, and the novel. Let's get started.
Nice.
Episode 14, I suppose you aren't aware, covering chapters 53 to 55 from the manhwa and chapters 63 to 66 from the web novel. To start things from the very beginning of the Red Gate incident, I want to focus on who Sung was with first. Reason being that, as new recruits from the White Tiger Guild, this was actually their very first time doing a dungeon raid. How then were they so composed when plunged into the Red Gate? Well, that's because they were taught that anything could happen. Each and every one of them had already gone through extensive training outside the gates. That being the case, the fact this was their first raid didn't mean that they were ill-prepared, it just meant they were inexperienced.
Wait, is that all of them, or like including the A rank? I don't think that was specified. Or is that the A rank as well? Was the A rank completely inexperienced? Because the A rank gave off energy like they weren't.
As soon as this gate was completed, all of them were set to start doing high rank dungeons. It essentially made this nothing more than a practice run for the 12 of them. There being 12 was actually one of the differences the anime didn't show us, since here we saw that they only had 8 hunters. The full strike squad consisted of 1 A rank, 7 B ranks, and 4 C ranks. Completely overkill for what a C rank gate normally required, but made sense since this was, after all, practice.
Yeah.
Now, an interesting property which made this gate
kind of crazy when you think this was supposed to be practice, and they even overstocked for a C rank because they wanted to make sure everyone got back safely. Meanwhile,
visibly different from the outside was the strange viscous nature with which it absorbed people. Normally the surface was supposed to return to being solid as soon as someone entered, but for some reason this one kept rippling like a liquid. It even clung to Sung's hand like glue the moment he touched it, resulting in its ability to swallow him whole. So, the gate would turn red and the White Tiger Guild would call Beck, leading to that whole outburst where he would express his anger towards the association. It didn't really matter that they got the reading wrong now though, since whether it was initially C, B, or A ranked, the fact the gate was red now trumped all of that.
Yeah.
Besides, they couldn't even remeasure the gate if they wanted to, since red gates had the distinct property of leaking 0 magical energy. It's just that Beck knew from personal experience red gates were incredibly dangerous, so much so that he was ready to count all those who were trapped as KIA. A new character had actually arrived right after Beck to dissuade that notion, basically saying how Kim Chul would be able to pull through for them. The reason this man was so invested in Kim was because he was the chief of the White Tiger Guild's 1st Division, the team responsible for prepping those who would be on the main strike force. Training was usually handled by On's 2nd Division, but any hunters ranked A or higher were always handled by Sung Chan's 1st Division. It was mandatory for them to go through a more specialized and intense training regimen.
I wonder if the top rank, like Strike Force, are all S ranks, or are they A and S ranks?
So, because Sung Chan...
Also, episode 3 really showed us the difference in strength between S ranks, you know? Like, it is kind of like One Punch Man in the sense that there's a big gap, you know? The bottom of A rank and the top of A rank, the bottom of S and the top of S, there's a big fucking gap.
Knew firsthand just how capable Kim Chul was. He truly believed he wouldn't fall behind any of the White Tiger Guild's main hunters, let alone a measly E rank unsuspected reawakened. This was its own little conflict outside the gate, essentially showing the competition between the White Tiger Guild's 1st Division and 2nd Division. On didn't seem all too into it, but it seems 1st Division is always trying to show up 2nd Division. In any case, Beck had actually gone on to explain why it is red gates are always
Beck
so
seems
fatal
like a
for
real
hunters.
chill kind of guy.
First, you never know where you're gonna end up, so you could be teleported anywhere from a scorching desert with 60 degrees Celsius temperatures, all the way to a poison-filled jungle or snow-covered wasteland. This makes
it makes, like, what he's about to say, I guess it makes it really difficult to prepare, really difficult to get the right equipment, and also if the temperature is going to be a massive effect as well, which is exactly why Jinwoo obviously got those jackets out straight away.
Pairing near impossible, since unless you bring equipment ready for everywhere, you're probably going to be caught off guard in at least one way or the other. So, it's these unexpected conditions that often lead to the weakest dying first, since not only do you have to acclimate to the new environment around you, but you also have to do so while fighting high-level monsters. It was a challenging feat that only the truly strong could possibly pull through from. All that was just the bare minimum though, since even after acclimating and surviving, you still had to find a way to procure food and water. Sure, you could enter with enough food to last for weeks, but with red gates lasting up to several months, eventually you would need to provide for yourself. The only truly helpful tool to help you get through this was your magic energy compass guiding you to the boss. With this pointing you in the direction of the most powerful source of magical energy, it would eventually get you to the boss. It's just you might be following it for weeks or months. So, with unforgiving surroundings, constant hunger, and the looming presence of monsters, a red gate truly was one of the most challenging endeavors a hunter could go through. It was totally justifiable for Beck to think that no one would make it. Now, before we get to what was happening inside the gate, the last thing I want to mention from outside was a couple details related to Huang Dong-su. He actually wasn't here at all in the novels, but in the manhwa he had found Sung by tracking his records with the association. He then immediately sniffed out that On was covering up for him, not because he knew that On was good at scouting, but rather because he just had a solid intuition on when something fun was happening. Consider it
fun. That's what this damn psychopath calls it. Fun. Ah, man, I can tell something's fun's going on. This dude over here is lying to me.
A personal sixth sense of his. To finally get to what was happening inside the gate, I suppose the best place to start is with this. Sung really didn't like the cheap tactic the Ice Elves opened with, leading him to hold a personal grudge against the ones who tried it. It's actually why he snapped the arrow right in front of them. He wanted them to know that he was pissed. Of course, the two elves only saw this as a challenge, leading them to make that motion in return directed right towards Sung. I know that's not really all that different from what we saw in the anime, but it does highlight the more aggressive Sung the novel version of him is known to be. He definitely flexes more here than he does in the manhwa or anime. Now, when Kim went on to enact his plan, he was so intent on clearing the gate that—
I like that. I to be honest, that's one thing I would like the anime to show a little bit more. Show a little bit more of Sung Jin-woo getting emotional, you know? Losing his shit a little bit, getting angry, you know? Because he talks about it a lot, but I want to see it, you know? And when he does, it's very fun.
That he was actually ready to do so by himself if need be. The way he spoke was so assuringly confident, though, that wasn't a problem he would have to worry about. Instead, there was a bit more back and forth between him and the lower hunters, eventually resulting in him calling them baggage. This wasn't an insult they were very happy with, but the moment Kim glared in their general direction, they immediately backed down since, well, what else could they do?
Yeah.
The groups would then split into the ones we saw, giving Sung the opportunity to get to know the White Tiger hunters better. It's here he'd learn why it was they weren't very afraid, but that confidence was something he knew would disappear quickly. Reason being that Sung knew firsthand no amount of training could prepare them for the life and death situations awaiting them. To know something was far...
You almost literally forget that the first, like, 2-3 episodes of solo leveling even exist, if I'm being honest, man.
...different from experiencing
how different this anime already is.
All these hunters were doing were simply showing off, not realizing just how terrifying the gate truly was. As soon as they see what's exactly at stake, Sung knew their false confidence would come crashing down on top of them.
And
I mean,
that's
for the
not
many
what
years it
happened
took
at all,
to build
no.
that confidence up, a single
Definitely
moment was all it took to break it down.
Yeah.
Such was the unfortunate fate awaiting these rookies. Heejin would then get to know Sung a bit herself, basically probing to find out why it is she felt so confident in him.
I like her as a character.
Though he never
I think she's gonna be
answered her
fun.
questions, his true confidence combined with what she believed she saw him do made her all but certain he was strong. She had barely pieced together the way that Sung had moved here, but her experience as a top athlete and her awakening into a melee hunter made her confident in her dynamic vision. It also...
The other thing that's important to mention is, didn't they target the weakest ones? They never targeted Jinwoo, obviously. But that's something that I'm guessing maybe she picked up on as well. You know, the fact that they were targeting the weak ones, but he wasn't one of the targets, despite being ranked one of the weakest.
Served to reinforce her assumptions even more. Now, for more context on why Sung felt more confident in the forest, well, the fact the elves were wearing pelts made from bears made it clear the bears were weaker than the elves. Part of the danger of a dungeon was not knowing what would pop out when, so to remove that element of uncertainty was actually a huge advantage. The coats and boots only cost 10 gold each, so out of the 430,000 he had earned up to this point, the items he bought here pretty much cost him nothing. Unlike items with special effects added to them, regular items like these didn't cost a lot at all. So Sung would prep his group and kill the bear, then gain a level up and become the group's leader. It was an immediate suggestion since this was the moment Heejin knew that she made the right call after all. Now she just feared that Sung might leave and do his own thing, so rather than wait for that to happen, she quickly suggested that Sung become their leader officially. It was a role Sung figured would make things easiest for him. 3 days would then pass with the weak hunters living it up, all while Sung would hunt bears like he had some sort of vendetta against them. The way his eyes lit up every time he saw them truly was terrifying for those who got to witness it. It definitely made people curious about what his true rank was, but out of fear of being kicked out of...
I wonder if the different color eyes mean anything. When we've seen like S-rank hunters kind of like do their aura mode, they're always a different color, you know? And I wonder if those colors and those looks and the glare in their eyes and like that sort of stuff, I wonder if it means anything.
The only safe haven here, the group decided not to talk about it further. So, in this first instance where Sung had come across what he could only describe as a bear farm, his shadow army got to show us why they were at least better than a pack of beasts. Whereas beasts fought mindlessly, Sung's army not only had the ability to regenerate, but also cooperated in a way that made them a pretty cohesive unit. Like,
I love how every fight that we see Sung Jinwoo get into and like have these incredible fights, these amazing battles, we know that the next day, if he went back and had that fight again, he would just like ace it, you know? And at the end of every fight, if he like retried the fight, he would win it way easier because of the way his leveling up system works. And I find that really interesting as well. I mean, we're even seeing it with episode 3 in the dungeon crawl.
Like, the mages could bombard the whole battlefield with magic, knowing full well the infantry would regenerate and get right back in there. This was what gave them the advantage, since the weakened bears could no longer defend against the unrelenting onslaught of the soldiers. In the end, it increased their levels from 1 to either 2 or 3. Their work had also raised Sung's own level by 3 as well. More bears.
So the shadow soldiers and units can raise his level with their combat. I didn't know that.
Bears could then be heard in the distance,
That's
which,
interesting.
as you'd expect, made Sung smile knowing he'd be able to get to them tomorrow. To switch things over to Kim Chul's side of the story now, it wasn't just the Ice Elves which had caused his defeat here. First, they had fought in to beat snowmen, then they lost 2 in a subsequent fight against some Ice Yetis, after which the Ice Elves would pounce to get the jump on them. They were sneakily waiting for Kim's team to exhaust themselves before launching their own attack.
The Ice Elves really are like backstabbing little bastards, aren't they, man? They did this at the beginning with their sneaky attack, and now they're doing it again. They're just sneaky.
So, in an instant, all the hunters except Kim were dead, leaving him to witness the barbaric nature of who he was up against. Like, the elves had gone so far as to taunt Kim with the decapitated head of his comrade. It was the action which spurred him to run away in terror. It didn't matter that he was running into ice bear territory, since compared to the snowmen, yetis, and ice elves, they were very much the least of his worries. Another 2 days would pass with Sung still farming bears, clearing a few more farms worth to the point that they were nearing extinction. At least him and his shadows got to level up from them, so much so that where before his shadows would need to fight 2-on-1 to win, now they could pull off a victory 1-on-1. His increased proficiency had even leveled up his shadow storage limit to a max of 30 now. It was at this point that Sung felt he should hunt the boss, since with no more bears to farm levels from and a dungeon break still several months out, there wasn't much value in sticking around anymore. Besides,
well, that explains why he kept talking about value, and why he was a bit annoyed and felt like he didn't really gain much from all of this. That's interesting as well.
He also had to find that one elf that pissed him off back here. Though 5 days had passed, Sung still hated how it mocked him and the other
that's why
hunters.
he killed that elf the way
Now,
he did.
In the meantime, Kim was completely starved, surviving only off a measly rabbit ever since he'd stepped foot here. That's why he was able to pick up the scent of food so easily, and it's also why he was so quick to anger. At this point, he was essentially ravenous. In fact, even if the food he smelled was coming from a camp of ice elves, his hunger made him believe that he could subdue them and get away with it. Kim was so hungry that he couldn't even make simple logical decisions anymore. That's when he would find the hunters, lash out at what he believed to be betrayal, then get slapped so hard that Sung's hand would start steaming from the impact. The elves would then make their entrance, revealing the boss whose aura was way stronger than all the others. It was so oppressive that Sung couldn't help but get goosebumps from it. The rest were grunts he knew he could easily take care of, mainly because his recent level grind made him that much stronger. Now, this particular elf was actually the one Sung had it out for, so rather than dash towards him and take his head himself, he instead just threw his dagger at a speed it couldn't even react to. It was a kill I'm sure Sung was extremely satisfied with.
It's interesting they changed such subtle details like that. In the anime, he blinks and chops his head off, but in the book, he throws his dagger. Gonna be honest, kind of like the approach the anime took there.
This brings us to the interesting conversation Sung had shared with Baruka, which, though filled with hints that should have got Sung thinking, didn't really trigger any thoughts at all. He chalked up the not—
Really? Sung, all of us were like, what does he mean? Meanwhile, he's like, I don't really care.
Human comment as him just being a player, while the stutter and lack of reaction to it made it clear probing for information was useless. It was no doubt like some bona fide NPC behavior, but that didn't matter to Sung at all. No, the only thing that did was being able to turn Baruka into a shadow soldier. This was the only thing Sung could think about ever since Baruka made his entrance, and it's probably why he didn't think too deeply about anything else. Sung just wanted a new soldier and the cool-looking daggers he possessed. Of course, Sung knew he couldn't beat Baruka alone, so what he needed to find was another strong ally. This leads to a fake out with Kim, since the way Sung kicks his sword towards him like he's seeking his help makes it seem like he's doing so in order to team up with him. Obviously that wasn't the case, but as the reader we don't yet suspect that Sung is baiting Kim into becoming a shadow soldier himself.
No, I mean we didn't really as the anime
while
viewer,
Sung was getting cut and sliced in his fight with Baruka, Kim finally woke up to find his sword next to him. This was incredibly lucky for both of them because Sung knew he wouldn't be able to last much longer, and Kim saw his opportunity for revenge. In the manhwa, Kim got skewered like this, then there was another cool panel where we see Sung casting a rise in the shadow of Igris's cape. Though the anime didn't show it, it was while Sung was busy doing so that Igris went on to distract Baruka. This was a good way to show just how strong Baruka was, since Igris barely served as a challenge to him. It didn't take long for Baruka to slice right through him. In fact, the only reason Igris wasn't defeated completely was because he was able to rely heavily on his regeneration abilities. Now, Sung's choice of—
That's interesting as well. Do you know what? This is making me realize that although the anime cuts like a lot of content, it actually does quite a good job at adapting content, because I feel like what they did with the forming of iron and like that entire scene was done very well and very epically. I feel like the anime did it very well, and even when I'm considering like comparing it to this and stuff, I feel like the anime did a very good job at like adapting that
the
way.
name for iron was because Chul in Korean meant iron. His grade of a shadow was the same as Aegris's at night grade, then though his towering stature made keeping up with agile opponents difficult, his innate aggro skills shadow provocation made such a limitation unimportant. Iron instead made his opponents come to him. This too saved Aegris from being defeated completely, since the moment Baruka was about to land the finishing blow, shadow provocation immediately switched his focus from Aegris to him. Reinforcement was another skill allowing Iron to tank all of Baruka's attacks, creating time for Sung and Aegris to join the battle together. At first, there wasn't much all three could do, but with each subsequent hit they managed to land, these small cuts and bruises started to reduce Baruka's agility ever so slowly.
Yeah, all of his stats.
It wasn't long before Baruka's smile was gone, and with each dodge reducing his already depleted stamina, it was only a matter of time before he was finished, just like how we saw in the anime. In the end, the entire fight had earned Sung 2 whole levels. For Miss Park, who was watching the fight, she was most worried about how she was going to explain all this.
Ha!
She seemed to be on the side of keeping Sung's secrets, so that was a message she was trying to convey to the others. Like, just the fact they were even able to think about what they were going to do outside the gate, well, that was only possible because of him. Her own personal feelings were now far beyond that of shock or gratefulness, and were now simply at a stage of awe. It's an important feeling to understand, since it'll come up again in some cutscenes I'm sure will be involving her next episode.
Well, there we go. That's literally what happened with them going around the house and them knocking on the door. And we literally saw that. Okay. This does a really good job. That's these like little details here are the reasons I love these videos so much, because they really enhance the viewer's experience in certain episodes in understanding how characters are feeling, you know?
Last thing I want to talk about in this episode is the minor spat between Sung and Beck after the gate. The main reason why Beck had backed off at all was because Sung's message was actually pretty valid, and the immense pressure he applied along with it made it clear he wasn't to be messed with right now. This was enough for Beck to become invested in Sung, since not just anyone could stand up to him the way that Sung just did. Not only that, but Beck could tell from Sung's powerful aura that if the two were to fight right here and now, he would need to be ready to lose an arm or worse. That's just how strong Sung had become after the Red Gate. So, given that this was the impression Beck got from Sung, Beck was ready to give on literally every resource to acquire him. It didn't matter how much money it would take, Beck wanted Sung in the White Tiger Guild now. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode. Sung's new dagger buffed his stats by this, and its grade of A made it perfect to replace Kasuka's Fang, which was becoming less and less effective lately. Oh, and the car scene does in fact happen in the manhwa too. Anyway, if you liked what you saw and want to see more solo leveling, then feel free to leave a like and subscribe.
Go subscribe to AniNews right now. The guy is absolutely fucking amazing. Absolutely amazing. I will say the she's of age thing, she's not of age or whatever, and then so, like, looks way worse in the book than it does in the anime. In the anime, you can, like, see the kind of naivety on his face when he's not really understanding the question or the statement. But in the book, it looks like he's like, and what, bro? What does that matter? And it's like, Jesus, dude. Like, just from that one image, that's what I immediately felt like. I don't know, I might sound crazy, but that's what it looked like. Interesting. Okay, so the arm thing, all of you were quick to tell me about. So I already knew that. The recruitment thing is interesting because it does make me wonder, like, it makes me wonder what we're going to see with the recruitment and what we're going to see with people wanting to recruit him and that stuff. And that's, like, something I'm very curious about, you know? Because we've seen it mentioned a bunch now. We're only seeing Jimu get stronger, but I don't see him going to these other guilds. But the reason I'm pointing this out is because it's only a matter of time before the celebrity status finds him, you know? And that's what I'm getting at here. That's what I'm feeling. You know, like, how much longer can he hide away? How much longer can he, like, not let people know? Every time he does something, more and more people are finding out, like, how strong he actually is. At this point, it's enough common knowledge within like the hunters and like certain guilds that he is stronger than he's gonna be. It's not long before it leaks, and we've seen the sort of status that the high-ranking hunters get. How long before all of that, all the facade that he has built, comes crumbling down? And once it does, what happens with Jinwoo then? You know, once all of that is gone, once he's no longer hiding behind a screen of smoke, what then? What does the journey for Jinwoo look like when people know? Because at the moment, his idea is he's just acting like a gamer. You know, he wants to grind hard, do it on his own. Everyone leave me alone. I'm gonna level up my character. You know, he's doing the Kirito from Sword Art Online. You know, that's his plan. You know, he's doing what loads of us do when we play games. When I play a game that's an open world game, I will immediately go around the entire map, do all the side quests, get all the best weapons. The second I unlock the whole world, that's literally what I do. Get all the viewpoints, everything like that, and then I go back to the main story. And at that point, I've got the best armor, best weapons, I'm a crazy high level, and the main story is just like playing a movie at that point. And that's what Jinwoo is doing. He has gone off, he is leveling up, he is grinding, he is acting like a gamer. So, if people know about him, he's gonna like lose that ability to vanish and level up like he is. The solo leveling aspect of solo leveling suddenly becomes impossible. And that's something I'm very curious about. I'm also looking forward to seeing what happens when he meets people who can like judge his abilities and they can tell that he's stronger than when they met him last time. That's going to be interesting too. Like a certain character from the White Tiger Guild that he just happened to bump into who realized how strong he was. Is he going to be able to detect next time he sees Jinwoo that Jinwoo has got stronger? And if so, what the hell is he going to make of that as well? You know what I mean? There's loads of stuff at play here that's very interesting. Well, I guess we'll just have to wait till next week to find out what happens. Make sure you go check out my reactions to solo leveling. I put them out every single Saturday. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone for supporting those reactions. They're doing exceptionally well, and I really appreciate all of you supporting them, liking them, everyone who watches the reactions on Patreon as well, and everyone who is subscribing over here at G.O.T Extra, because we are so close to 50,000 subscribers, and it's only possible because of all of you. I really hope you guys are all enjoying my reactions to this, because I'm loving doing it. Massive shout out to AniNews. Link to this episode is in the description. And as always, my friends, you will see me in the next video.